A big welcome to all of those who are connecting with us online. We're so glad that you guys are tuning in, and our online community is expanding, and we consider you a part of this. And so you're at church with us, and it's awesome to see our influence and what God is doing just extend past these walls. Today is an exciting day, and we're going to celebrate with some baptisms in just a little bit. But before we get into that, and the rest in the message today, I just want to remind you we are 2 weeks away from our marriage conference, our first ever marriage conference. So if you are married or if you are engaged, we want to invite you to be a part of this. You can sign up in the back before you leave. Don't miss this. It's going to be a one-day event. And hey, treat it like a whole date day. We're only going to take like a few hours, like 9 to 3-ish, 4, something like that. And then you can have the whole night, like go on a date. I'm just telling you, it will be a good night for you, married people, if you start your day with this marriage conference. I'm just going to leave that right there, and you can let your mind wander. But don't miss this opportunity for what God's going to do at our marriage conference. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it will bless you in your marriage. I believe just way beyond a one day. We're gonna learn some principles together that will impact our marriage for the rest of our lives. So don't miss this. We're gonna jump right in today to what God has laid on my heart as we kind of close out this 2-part message that we started last week. If you remember, we kicked off our year with a word for the year, our direction for the year. And if you know what that word is, come on, tell me that my job is not wasted. What is the word for the year? For those of you online that couldn't hear, they said it, they got it right. It is freedom. The word is freedom. Galatians 5:1. This is our theme verse. We're going to look at this. You will memorize. If you don't memorize a single verse this year, you can memorize this one. If you don't memorize this one, it's completely your fault. It has nothing to do with me. Verse 1. It is for freedom that Christ set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. God's word is telling us that Jesus died for your freedom so that you could be free. And he says, so stand firm, stand in that freedom. Learn to stand in, walk in, live in that freedom, and don't go back. Don't let any form of slavery or bondage of any type back onto you, into your life. No, you've got to walk this freedom out. He wants us to be free. I don't know about you, but I've learned that in my own life, I have the ability to self-sabotage. I like to return to some things that have meant slavery for me in the past, and I don't walk out God's freedom in every single area, but that is the goal for us. Over the next 3 months, really, we're going to dive in really deep, but the whole year, it is our goal that we as the people of Freedom Church, it's in our name, I think we should be able to walk this out. To walk out what it really means to be free. Not just say it, not just sing it, but actually be free. That's what I want for us. That's what I believe you want for you. Last week we started a kind of a 2-part message on the essentials of the journey. So this journey that we are going to go on for the next 3 months, there are some essentials that we have to have. And we talked about a few last week, and today we're going to talk about more essentials for the journey toward freedom. But I want to look at a group of people today that we're going to learn these essentials from. And it's a group of people called the Israelites. You see, God's word is all about, this whole book is all about God wanting his people to experience freedom. In the Old Testament, he portrays that in the people of Israel, his chosen people, and leading them to a new land, a new life, true freedom. And then Jesus came, and that freedom is for all people. But there are so many parallels with the children of Israel to our own spiritual journey. Because for about 400 years, they were in slavery. Bondage was all they had known. Think about it, 400 years. That's generation after generation after generation had died off, and they all died in slavery to the point where the miracles of God and the faithfulness of God were but a myth. to them. But then God shows up in a miraculous way and sets them free. And then he leads them on a journey toward true freedom. And here's the thing about freedom. Freedom is more than just not being in slavery. Freedom is way more than just not being in slavery. True freedom is when we get slavery out of us. You talk to anybody who has been enslaved, maybe in the sex trade, or anybody that's been enslaved to an addiction. It's not just when you're free from it. That's a great start. But there's a whole journey of walking out where it gets out of us. Does that make sense? And you see, the same is true for us. Salvation is where Jesus gets us, just like the children of Israel. He gets us out of Egypt. But this spiritual journey that we're on, and I believe what the next few months are going to look like for us, is where Jesus is going to get Egypt out of us. And we're not going to go back to slavery, to those old ways. But here's the thing, the length of the journey, I believe, is entirely up to us. Because one of the most heartbreaking moments in Scripture and with God's people is that what God intended to be little under a 2-week journey toward the new life that he had for his people, because of this one moment we're going to look at today, it ended up taking over 40 years. So if you have your Bibles, you can turn to Numbers chapter 13. We're going to be in 14 a little bit too, and it'll also be on the screen. I'm going to read quite a bit of this story today, then we're going to talk about some things. So stay with me. Are you with me? Verse 1, chapter 13 says, "The Lord said to Moses, send some men to explore the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites. From each ancestral tribe send one of its leaders." Verse 3, "So at the Lord's command, Moses sent them out from the desert of Paran. All of them were leaders of the Israelites." So Moses sends out this group of men, 12 men from the 12 tribes of Israel, and says, you guys are going to explore the land. In verse 17, when Moses sent them to explore Canaan, he said, "Go up through the Negev and on into the hill country. See what the land is like and whether the people who live there are strong or weak, few or many. What kind of land do they live in? Is it good or bad? What kind of towns do they live in? Are they unwalled or fortified? How's the soil? Is it fertile or poor? Are there trees in it or not? Do your best to bring back some of the fruit from the land," because Moses was into grapes, loved grapes. And it says he knew it was grape season. I don't know, I just made that up, but it's actually in there, so I assumed he liked grapes. Verse 23, "And when they reached the valley of Eshcol, they cut off a branch bearing a single cluster of grapes. 2 of them carried it on a pole," must have been some big grapes, "between them, along with some pomegranates and figs. That place was called the Valley of Eshcol because of the cluster of grapes the Israelites cut off. And at the end of the 40 days, they returned from exploring the land." So the journey took about 2 weeks to get to the edge of it, the edge of the land that God had promised them. But God told Moses, before you go in, I want you to send some men through it and just explore it and report back to you what they see. And so they took another 40 days, and these men, they explored the land. They cut off some grapes. They found some stuff. They gathered some reports, and they came back to report to Moses. Verse 26. "They came back to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the desert of Paran. There they reported to them and the whole assembly and showed them the fruit of the land. They gave Moses this account: 'We went into the land which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey, just as God promised it would.' Go figure. Here is its fruit. They're like, man, it was awesome. I mean, it is really a great land. But I mean, I know God told us it would flow with milk and honey, and it really does. I mean, look at the fruit. This land is awesome. But there's a moment between verse 27 and verse 28 that completely shifts the trajectory of their journey. Don't miss this. Don't just read into the next sentence. Like, you have to see this. It is a great land, just as God promised it would be. Verse 28, but the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites live in the Negev, the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites live in the hill country, and the Canaanites live near the sea and along the Jordan. But then Caleb, everybody say Caleb. Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, what do you guys, no, we can do that. We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. But the men who had gone up with him said, we can't attack these people. They are stronger than we are. And they spread among the Israelites a bad report about the land they had explored. And they said, the land we explored devours those living in it. All of the people we saw there are of great size. We saw Nephilim there, the descendants of Anak. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. Everybody say, in our own eyes. I want to walk you through what this story lays out for us, I believe, gives us three things, three essentials that we have to have as we walk into our own spiritual journey. Because how many of you are okay with where you are? Right, that was a trick question. None of us should have answered it. Because we shouldn't be. I'm not. I want more of what God has for me. But here's what I know, that to get from where I am to where I need to be, what do I have to do? I've got to go on a journey. I've got to walk some stuff out, which means I'm going to learn some stuff, which means I'm going to see some stuff. God's going to show me some stuff. On this journey that we are on, we talked about some essentials last week. We need all of those. Get those in your tool belt. Here are three more. Number one is this. It's the right perspective. The right perspective. Can I just tell you right now, you are going to see some things on your spiritual journey that might scare you. You might see some giants from the past. You're going to see some good things, but you're going to see some things that make you want to not go in. You have to equip yourself with the right perspective. Here's what's amazing about this story. 12 spies. All of them saw the same thing. 10 of them had one perspective. 2 of them, Caleb and Joshua, had a different perspective. Let me tell you something about the things you're going to see on your journey. In your journey through life, it is never about what you see. It's always about how you see what you see. Did you catch that? It's never about just what you see, what's in front of you. It's always about how you see what you see. Some of us, we are defeated before we even make a move. And we wonder why God isn't moving on our behalf. It's never going to work. There's no way. I mean, it seems impossible to me. We've got this negative mindset and we're speaking death over our situation before we even really step into it. Proverbs 18:20 through 21 says, from the fruit of their mouth, a person's stomach is filled. You are eating devouring, spiritually speaking, what is coming out of your mouth. With the harvest of their lips, they are satisfied. Verse 21. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. In other words, whatever you want to feed on, that's what has to come out of your mouth. And whatever's coming out of your mouth is what you're feeding on. So no wonder some of us, we have this kind of disgusting outlook on life. You ever been around those people where everything is just negative? Well, guess why? Because they're speaking negative, and then they're eating negative, so their perspective is negative, because the power of life and death is in the tongue. I think we like to make following God and his ways way more complicated than they are. Before it comes out of your mouth, ask yourself the question, is this life or death? Am I speaking life or am I speaking death? Well, I'm just a realist. Well, I just call things like they are. As followers of Jesus, it is not our job to call things as they are, but as we believe they can be. To speak faith into situations, to speak faith into conversations, to speak faith into perspectives, to speak faith into people. That is what we are called to do. What is your perspective of the situations that you haven't even faced yet? You haven't even walked into yet. What is your perspective? Some of us, we need to stop pretending that our lack of faith is caution. We need to stop clothing our fear and pessimism in wisdom. I'm just being wise. No, you don't have any faith. No, you're just being negative. This is a good word, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Sometimes you just got to encourage yourself because you know you're bringing a hard word. And let me just tell you something. Listen to the guy who's saying this. Because all I see is typically negative. Can I just be real with you? I have had to teach myself spiritually how to look past the negative, because I promise you, I see more negative than I see positive in my life, in this world, in people even. I can point out everything that's wrong in this building right now. I can point out everything that's probably wrong in your life right now. I won't. But I believe God has given me a gift to be able to do that so that I can fix things that are broken. But the problem with that is that I tend to paint everything with a negative perspective. And I've had to teach myself how to have a right perspective and how to know and believe for what I don't see just yet. See, a wrong perspective, when you have a wrong perspective, here's how you know. You will face problems and difficulties, and it will stop you because you will say, there's no way. I don't know how. If that's happening in any situation in your life, you have a negative, wrong perspective right now. A right perspective will face the same things and say, this is not going to be easy, but I know faith requires movement, and so I'm going to move forward one step at a time. You see, that's the right perspective. The right perspective is not like, hey, this is all going to be easy, and here we go. No. I almost just skipped off this stage. A right perspective sees the same things. They just see them differently. You've got to see it. Why does this matter for your journey? Because you're going to face some things. And your perspective matters. You see, we don't always get to choose what we walk through, but we always choose our perspective. We always choose how we see what we see. Second thing is this. It's the right people. You got to have the right perspective, and you got to have the right people in your life. Go back to verse 31. But the men who had gone up with him said, we can't attack these people. They are stronger than we are. And they spread among the Israelites a bad report. A bad report. You see, if we aren't careful, we can allow somebody else's negative mindset, somebody else's negative perspective to impact our spiritual trajectory. We've got to be careful the voices that we are allowing in our life. But the flip side is also true. When we have the right people in our corner, they will help you. They will help you point out, hey, your perspective is getting off a little bit. The right people will help bring a right perspective. That is why people are so important. Here's the thing. What happens when you get stuck in your life? Ask yourself, what happens when you get stuck in your life and who's there? What are the people around you saying to you when you get stuck? Are they telling you like, hey, come on, like you need to buck up. Like you can do this. Step forward. You've got this. Or are they feeding in? Yeah, that's going to be really difficult. What are the people around you saying? I will never forget my the birth of my son. They were all the births were super just memorable for different reasons, but the most recent one, and probably because it's the most recent, there was a moment, it was so cool. Because my wife, as she's giving birth, we had a friend in there, one of her close friends was there with her, and my wife is the strongest woman in this world. But like watching your wife give birth, it's just like, oh my gosh, like, I mean, the amount of pain that she was in and pushing. And she had a friend right there that was like, and because my wife, and again, she's super positive, but there were these moments where the pain was just so much that she was just like, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. And she had a friend right there because I was just holding her hand like, you know, I'm not going to say a word. But her friend was right there, and she was like, Sunshine, you're already doing it. You're doing it. No. You're doing it. Like, you don't have a choice. You're already doing it. And we need some people in our lives that when the pain wants to stop us, we've got people that are saying, nope, no, you're not stopping because you're already doing it. Get up. We need the right people in our corner. That's why small groups are so important. I'm telling you, it's not just so that we can fill something else on your schedule. You need a group of people that you are connecting with. If you don't have them, you will face things in life and it will stop you dead in your tracks and you'll never advance into what God has for you. Small groups. Next Sunday, we're going to have our small groups represented, our small group rally. We're going to give you the chance to sign up for a group, get in a group. And if you're ready to step out and lead a group, we have one more training tonight at 5 o'clock. Small group leader training tonight at 5 o'clock. Don't miss it. Be here because you need people in your life. And some of us are actually called in this season to step out and create those groups for people. Because we all need the right people. Jump into chapter 14, verse 1. It says, that night, all the members of the community raised their voices and wept aloud. All the Israelites grumbled against Moses and Aaron. And the whole assembly said to them, if only we had died in Egypt or in the wilderness. Why is the Lord bringing us to this land only to let us fall by the sword? Our wives and children will be taken as plunder. Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt? And they said to each other, we should choose a leader and go back to Egypt. Galatians 5:1, it's for freedom that Christ set us free. So stand firm and don't let yourselves be burdened again by the yoke of slavery. And it's the same thing that they're walking through. We should just go back. Can I tell you something? You will be tempted to go back. You will be tempted to go back. Then Moses and Aaron fell face down in front of the whole Israelite assembly gathered there. Joshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of, I just forgot how to pronounce his name, so I'm not going to, who were among them, who had explored the land. They tore their clothes and said to the entire Israelite assembly, the land we passed through and explored is exceedingly good. If the Lord is pleased with us, he will lead us into that land, a land flowing with milk and honey, and he will give it to us. Only do not rebel against the Lord. Do not be afraid of the people of the land, because we will devour them. Their protection is gone, but the Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them. Verse 10. but the whole assembly talked about stoning them. It's really hard to shift a culture of people with a negative mindset. Joshua and Caleb tried. Moses and Aaron tried, but they couldn't do it. What voices are you listening to in your life? And on this journey toward freedom, like true spiritual freedom, like where we're done just talking about it, but we're actually living it. We live lighter. Our heart's beating. I mean, we see differently. Who's your Caleb and Joshua? And I'll flip the question around. Who are you to other people? Are you Caleb and Joshua? Or are you the 10? Can I just tell you something? The people who aren't your Calebs and Joshuas, get rid of them. Get rid of them. Now, I'm not saying you got to go out after service is over and be a jerk to somebody and say, my pastor told me to get rid of you. No, but you need to start limiting their ability to speak into your life. Because you need some Calebs and Joshuas. The next verse, basically, Moses then starts wrestling with God. Because God's like, I've had it with these people. What else do they want me to do? Like, man, I rescued them from Egypt. You guys remember the 10 plagues? Flies, frogs, blood. I did it all. Like, I rescued you. I've led you through the desert this whole time. I've led you right up to the edge of the land. I'm giving it to you. What else do you want from me? And God was frustrated. And then Moses begins to kind of plead with God. Like, God, don't smite us. Like, God, remember how much you love us. And then in verse 20, the Lord replied, I have forgiven them as you asked. Nevertheless, as surely as I live and as surely as the glory of the Lord fills the whole earth, not one of those who saw my glory and the signs I performed in Egypt and in the wilderness, but who also disobeyed me and tested me 10 times, not one of them will ever see the land I promised, an oath to their ancestors. No one who has treated me with contempt will ever see it. But because my servant Caleb has a different spirit and follows me wholeheartedly, I will bring him into the land he went to, and his descendants will inherit it. Verse 25. And since the Amalekites and the Canaanites are living in the valleys, turn back tomorrow and set out toward the desert along the route to the Red Sea. God basically said, turn around. And they spent the next 40 years wandering a location that only took them about 10 days to cross. And the entire because of these 10 men and one moment of negativity and refusal to trust God, it impacted an entire generation's ability to experience true freedom. There are some things that have probably been passed down from generation to generation represented in this room because no one had the courage to step forward and take care of some things. And therefore, it just keeps getting passed to generation to generation. And this group of people today, we have the ability to stop it. But we've got to hold on to these essentials. Number 3 is this last one. We have to trust his plan and provision. We have to trust his plan and provision, which ultimately are laid out in his promises, as we talked about last week. Come on, Numbers 13, chapter 13, verse 1, the very first verse. The Lord said to Moses, send some men to explore the land of Canaan, which I am giving. God already promised it. He already laid out a plan. He already was going to provide for them everything they needed. He had provided every step of the way. He was going to provide for them everything that they needed to enter that land, but they did not trust him. They didn't trust him. God told them it would happen, but they didn't trust him. Here's the thing we have to know about God. If he said it, he'll do it. If his word promises it, he'll do it. But we have to trust him. We have to trust him. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, we'll close here. It says, trust in the Lord with all, everybody say all your heart. God said he was pleased with Caleb because he had a different spirit and he followed him. He trusted him wholeheartedly. That's never changed. God doesn't need you to be perfect. God doesn't need you to have the pedigree that you think you need to have. God says, all I need is your whole heart. Just trust me with your whole heart and watch what I will do in your life. I don't care what every day has looked like up until now. If you decide today, God, I'm going to trust you with my whole heart, and we actually walk that out, God says, watch what I will do with a man or a woman who will trust me with their whole heart. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. You see, there will be moments where you want to trust you, where you want to submit to your own thinking, desires, ways. And God says, don't do it. Trust me. Trust me. Because here's the big idea. God is going to lead us to a new life, to a new land, to freedom, to true spiritual freedom. But there will be some big things in the way. There will be some things along the journey. Your perspective matters. The people in your corner, the voices you're listening to, they matter. Ultimately, it comes down to, God, I'm trusting you every single step of the way. Every step. Would you bow your heads all over this place? I don't know where you're at today, but I know that all of us, we have moments where we don't want to trust God. We don't want to follow his ways. Where we have to learn to not lean on our own understanding. And I believe two things are going to happen with the rest of our time today. One, a group of people, we call ourselves followers of Jesus. We're re-upping today. It's time to re-up and say, God, I do trust you. If I've done anything, if anything in my life has been in my own strength and me showing that I don't trust you, God, forgive me. But God, right now, I'm committing my heart to you again, and I trust you. I trust you. I'm not going back. But I believe there are also some of us today that trusting him begins when we trust him with our lives. We trust him with our rescue, our salvation. Because Jesus came and he went to a cross and he died for us. He rose from the dead. He took the punishment of our sin away. We can walk with him into this new life, but it requires an initial moment of trust where we say, God, I want what you have for me. And I'm ready to give you control of my life. That's it. It's a simple moment, but it changes everything. And if you're here today or you're connecting with us online and you don't have a relationship with God, and you know it, in your heart right now, you know that things aren't right. You haven't fully trusted him with your life. But today you're ready. The Bible's very clear. All we have to do is believe in our heart and confess with our mouth, and we're saved. We're rescued. And then he takes us on the most incredible journey of discovery. But if that's you today, we're not going to embarrass you in any way. We just want to help you connect with God right there where you are. I'm going to count to 3 in just a moment. And I'm going to ask you to be bold enough before we pray out this prayer together to just slip up your hand and say, that's me today. I'm ready to give Jesus my life, all of my life, my whole heart. Come on, if that's you, let me see your hand. 1, 2, 3. That's you today. Yeah, that's awesome. Come on, you can put your hands down. Come on, Freedom, let's pray this out with those who are making this decision. Pray with boldness. Say, Jesus, right now, I give you my life. I give you control. Forgive me for all my sins and for trying to do life my way. I believe you died for me and you rose from the dead to give me new life. I receive it now. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.